All right, hello collective. Welcome back to another episode of the healing series. Today we're going to be dealing with sign psychosis, talking a bit about sign psychosis, what it entails, how to help yourself through it, all those fun things. But on the spiritual journey, we tend to get many signs in many ways, which can lead to confusion and feeling overloaded and overwhelmed. Sometimes you're blind to signs, and other times you receive so many signs that you become impatient or scared that it's not going to come in. It's important to break down what a sign is and how to pay attention to confirmations, overall moving with the flow of life. When people struggle with seeing, accepting, or trusting the sign spiritual gives you, it's because they aren't connected to the spiritual realm, trust in the spiritual realm, or have a clear or clean spiritual sense, and sometimes even they don't trust themselves. This is mainly due to a blocked artirat, your third eye, or if you're dealing with heavy emotions, it's a sign, seen when it comes to seeing signs. It's due to an abarat or a heart chakra issue. It can also be a sent T arat or in a root chakra issue as well. Being mindful of signs and thankful for signs are the key. Daily meditations can help clear up confusion, as well as trusting yourself more, because it's you who's receiving the signs and not anyone else. And this is a good point to talk about because a lot of people have this spirit of dependency where they need to depend on someone else to, oh, I'm watching this video and this video said that I'm going to see a flamingo at some point if this message resonates with me, right? That can be a spirit of dependency, and it's all based off how the words are said, right? The ear candy part of it is saying, oh, I'm going to see a pink flamingo, that's my confirmation, right? And what's happening is the words are saying you are going to, which is not everyone in the world is going to see a pink flamingo, right? You need to be more useful with your words, because what happens is a lot of people get up on that trend and then they're like, oh, we're all going to see pink flamingos, and that's not really what's going to happen. Now, if it goes, you've recently seen pink flamingos and this is how you know it's for you, that's a better way of saying it, because it no longer leaves a dependency, no longer leaves an energy of vigilance on the lookout for a pink flamingo. Now it's just like, oh, I did see a pink flamingo like recently, so that is for me. And then if it does happen in the future, like, oh, I did see a pink flamingo in the future, so this is again for me, right? Instead of telling people that if you will see this if this is for you, don't say that, because now that's putting so many people within a bunch of it's awful, because I see it all the time and people don't realize what they're doing, because, well, not many people are aware of what they're doing or what they're saying. Many people think words don't matter, what they're saying doesn't matter, and those people can stay in that type of category because they'll never really be transparent. They'll never really say what they mean to say. They'll never really have full clarity. They'll still be in the clouds, and they don't need to be in the clouds. You need to be here, grounded, right? But it's important not to use your words like that. Um, Especially when it comes to seeing signs. The biggest part that I see with a lot of people is they struggle with seeing signs. They struggle with what a sign is. They struggle with all these things that deal with signs. And it's mainly, some people have it because they watch so many of the other videos saying like, oh, I'm supposed to be seeing all these signs, but I don't see them anywhere. It's like, well, because you weren't supposed to see them. It wasn't for you. But it's built up all that energy, and now all that energy is just deflated. So that goes back to your emotional, your mental capacities. It makes you feel lower, it makes you feel a little bit bad about yourself. All these things, they all correlate. But many people get confused to what a sign is from your spirit team or ancestors. And it's really just an encounter that alerts you, it allows you to sense something or feel something, as well. It's something that grabs your attention. So an example would be if you are wanting to go to the store, right? And you get a notification, and the notification kind of sets you off while you're thinking about going to the store. That's most likely a sign to not go to the store. Okay, that's a sign not to go to the store. You're getting a discomforted feeling while also thinking about an activity, and you're like, am I, should I go? Should I do this? And it's like, oh, I shouldn't do this. Why shouldn't I do that? Well, what is the sign trying to show you? What's going on? well, maybe there's not going to be what you want in the store. Maybe it's going to be low inventory. Maybe there's just going to be a car pileup. It's going to take longer than it needs to. Just something that you don't need. It's something that's going to be like avoidable. And you can ignore the sign and go to the store if you want, but it's not going to allow you to really have the best trip. You know what I mean? The divine's always going to show you a good path, but they also need you to trust on yourself as well. As well as whenever let's say you want to go to the store, you receive like a sign that makes you feel good. That's a sign to go to the store. You're gonna either bump into have a good encounter. You could either have a good encounter. You could have an implode, like a, what is that word called? And I'm just gonna say an abundance of it. You could have like an abundance of what you're looking for. All these things that could be going well, right? Hell, you could even like a random $100 on a bill, $100 bill on the floor, right? All these things that relate to it. But it's important to pay attention to signs and how they make you feel at the time. A lot of people who struggle with signs also struggle with direct communication. They take direct communication as an argument or an attack, or feel like direct communication is saying something's wrong with them or something of that nature. Whenever you feel of those ways, that's another thing that you're not picking up signs clearly. A lot of times your trauma will really jump in the way of receiving signs. Trauma will really misconstrued what you're receiving in the spiritual realm. Because the divine, when they talk to you, is a very direct thing. You will get a yes or no answer. Usually when you get a maybe from the divine, it's because it doesn't matter and you need to make a decision. And a lot of people don't like that because a lot of people are so codependent that they're not allowing themselves to move forward. But when you're stuck in that type of cycle, you don't pay attention to signs by proxy. Your guides will always give you a direct answer. There is no maybe with them. Maybe is something that man will say and choose. And again, like that's why I was saying earlier, is like whenever you say maybe, it's literally you needing to make a decision of yes or no. You're just seeing how both options are valuable, and it's like, well, which one do you actually want to do? And you always know what you want to do deep down inside, but it's the disagreeable part of you that wants to say that there's not a chance, there's not another choice. It has to be maybe, or the disagreeable part of you that doesn't want to make a decision at all. If you're unsure about a sign, you can ask for another one, and if needed, you can ask for a simpler one. You will receive it. You need to make a direct statement, and a direct statement could be like this: if it is a yes, send me another sign. If it's a no, don't send a sign, right? And you can go even more with specifics. You can go, if it's a yes, let me see, let me see the color red. Let me see something with the color red. And if it's a no, let me see something with the color blue, right? And don't go around looking for the sign. Allow the sign to come to you because you've already put the order out. It's on its way to you, right? If it's an urgency thing, allow your spirit team to know, like, give them, it's like, make the sign come with haste, if you need it to be. And other than that, just keep an eye out for it. Really look at it as that. Working with your spirit team, set the rules though. Always set the rules when you're working with your spirit team so that you can understand what they're trying to convey to you. Working with your spirit team takes a lot of trust in yourself as well to receive things clearly. And if you can't do that, you need to work on it. Working with your Abra, your Kimu Orat, your Ab is your heart, your Kimu is your crown, and your third eye, which I already forgot. Yeah, RT. Rat. Working with those would be good. Many times your guides will tell you what you already know from other people, or not respond at all. This is why they want you to connect with them and not another person. And this happens a lot with readings. Whenever you get a reading from someone and it's like your spirit team doesn't really have any information for you, it's because they've given everything to you that you need, and it's up to you now to make a decision to do what you need to do. Other times you'll get answers that aren't the best, and that's because your ego was grabbing onto another option that you knew deep down wasn't going to work, but you were just having a false sense of hope for it. All these things you kind of have to like check yourself with. You have to be very centered within yourself. You have to be very grounded within yourself. But it's up to you and you alone to connect with your spirit team and ancestors. If you're stuck in the religious dogma of thinking that doing so is bad, or believing that God is the only way to receive signs or something, that's your first obstacle to overcome. Without your spirit team, you will get lost easily and stay in situations that aren't of the best benefit. Regardless, it's all based on how much you actually trust yourself, again, as you are the one receiving everything. And I'm going to dive in a little bit more with God is the only way. When you have your spirit team and they're trying to communicate with you, right? And we'll jump into like spirit teams and how they can have like energetic leeches on them and stuff as well, because all that stuff comes from you, and a lot of people aren't willing to accept that. But we're going to talk about it. With the whole thing of like believing that God is the only way, um, God, though God wants you to connect with Him, there are ways to do so, right? Just being like, oh, I'm gonna wait on God isn't allowing you to connect to God at all. That's just you sitting there like a knot on a log, hoping that something new is gonna happen. Whenever in fact you have messengers sent from God, whoever you wish to define God as, of course, as well, that come down and tell you, hey, you should do this, hey, you should do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. And by you not doing those actions, you're actually straying further away from God. And people don't like to understand that. Some people think like, oh, how do you know about that and stuff of that nature? And it's really common sense to me, because you know I've studied this stuff since a young age. This isn't like something new and extravagant. You know, like I haven't getting caught up in the religious dogma that surrounds the world. It's very like obvious to me to find out, and just to know as well, like that all the signs that you receive come from the Heavenly Father. And it's up to you to take those. It's up to you to walk that journey to get to God. You know, it's not about sitting still and waiting on something. It's about moving. Sometimes you need to rest. Sometimes you need to move, and it's up to you to know which one you're doing. And again, since you're the one receiving everything, you have to be aware of that. Whenever you go to a reader or something, and they tell you what their spirit team's trying to tell you, that's a mirror self. That's again like when I did the video about the ego, about the alter ego being, you know, how it can be a reflection of things outside of you. It's important to understand that as well. It's important to understand that when you get readings from your spirit guides and stuff from someone else, that's an alter ego. That's a part of you that you've been ignoring. That's why sometimes the message comes out a little bit more abrupt or rough around the edges that you wouldn't normally like. And it's because that ego gratification of yourself, where you're only wanting these softer messages, has been blocking off the part of you that's going to allow you to see the full spectrum of things. Okay. Signs don't just come in the form of alerts or notifications. They also come in the form of animals, numbers, smells, tingles, ringing in the ear, voices, flickering lights, and etc. They come in all forms, and it's up to you to do your research to find out what sign they're trying to show you and how your spirit team communicates with you. It's a personalized experience, which is why it's so reliant on self-trust. It's important to the energy of the sign that talk. It's important to know the energy of the sign that is trying to talk to you, rather than what you see. Sometimes you will receive a sign that disturbs you, and other times you will feel calm. Based off how you feel, let your thoughts guide you, not force you to your next step. Remind yourself to ground if the sign disturbs you, and decipher if it was just you being shocked or if it was actually a negative sign. Remember, many emotions can resonate at the same frequency, so take time to know each sign and know how it feels. This is why it's important for you to feel your feelings. If you don't know what's coming up, then you're not gonna know what's coming up. I mean, like if you're not feeling the feelings that you're getting, if you're not feeling and letting the emotion, you know, run through you, how are you going to know what that emotion actually is when it hits you? Like I'm going to talk about it because this is the easiest one. Excitement and fear are the same frequency. They vibrate at the same frequency, right? So what if the sign isn't causing you fear? What if it's just a bunch of excitement, right? But then that excitement makes you scared, and then vice versa. All these things, you have to be very, very aware of that. Work with your emotional centers heavily. Know yourself, and this is the whole part about knowing yourself. A lot of people don't think it is, but if you don't know how you react, if you don't know how you respond, then how, you know what I mean? Sometimes people are just incredibly soft and very sensitive to energy, and they take everything as being an attack because it's just a lot of heavy energy. Well, first they need to learn how to set stronger boundaries with energy, and then secondly they need to start working with the energy instead of letting the energy beat them up, because only you can allow that energy to actually get to you in that type of way to cause that type of disturbance. All energy can be manipulated, it can't be destroyed, but it can be changed in state. And if you can't find the truth of the energy, or learn how to not change the energy from negative to good just based off of how you wish to feel, then you need to put some work into that so you can actually feel what's going on, so you can actually get the signs the way that they're actually being sent to you, rather than a way that would soothe you more, which would be living in a fantasy, or to change the energy to better suit what your ego desires. Because a lot of times people do that subconsciously without knowing it. We all respond to energy differently, so it's up to you to know where you are emotionally, so don't get knocked off your rocker. This will help you to move in the flow of life, as well as being a more authentic energy, thus making things you do more fluid and comfortable, even in the unknown. Signs can also come in the form of dreams, and to better know how to read your dreams, or even know how to remember your dreams, you can watch the video titled Truth About Dreams and More. And I believe I did a class on how to read your dreams as well. You can look at that one. But be sure to journal and mark down certain signs and how they make you feel, so you can have a better communication with your guides and more signs that you recognize easier. That being said, as well, I'm going to repeat myself with it. Talk to your guides about repeating signs. If you like receiving one form of sign, receive it. Of course, they're going to make you expand out from that bubble, but if you need a certain type of sign, you can ask for it and they'll show you it. Um, when it comes to smells and senses, when it comes to the sensory signs, where it's like the feelings and the smells and the tastes and stuff, right? How do they make you feel? It's the same thing of getting a flashback. Did that flashback moment make you feel happy? Did it make you feel good? Did it make you feel calm? Of course, there's going to be an initial shock, right? But shock is, again, that's a label. Shock is a neutral. Is the shock cause you stress? Then that's the additive that makes it negative, right? Think of it as working with bases. It's either alkaline or it's either an alkaline, a base, or an acid, right? You have to work with that type of sense. So what's the pH balance of the emotion? Was it too acidic? Was it too shocking? Was it too alkaline? Was it too relaxed? All these things, and pay attention to it. You know, don't let the energy turn into anxiety just because it's a lot or because it's new. Allow yourself to really move with that. With animals, counting animals, certain animals have certain meanings. Counting crows and all these things, numbers, numerology. You can look up the video I did on angel numbers to better understand what numbers are trying to tell you. A lot of people just go off of like, oh, this angel number means this. No, like, sure, it does, whatever, but like, what's actually going on? You know what I mean? There are only 9 numbers. There's no number higher than 9. And a lot of people want to say that there is, but it's not. When you look at other numbers past 9, they're compound numbers. That means it's literally just 2 numbers together. And when 2 numbers are together, you add them together. You add them up, you get the sum of them. So there's no number higher than 9. 9 to the ninth power of 9 is the highest value that we have on this realm. And a lot of people don't like to see it like that, but that is simply the truth. There is not another symbol, a new symbol past the number 9 at all. I mean, it's just how it is. When you get ringing in your ear, you have to pay attention to that as well. You know, ask your guides for if it's a good or bad. Some people have good signs in their left ear and bad signs in their right ear. Some people have the vice versa of that. Some people just get ringing in their ear, whether it's good or bad, and they have to depend on the energy. But it's all up to you to get these things. Your spirit team will sometimes talk to you. Sometimes you'll get, again, like flashbacks of people saying things to you, all these things. Sometimes you'll hear a voice from down the hallway saying someone's name or saying something that's going to give you a sign, flickering lights, all these things. Like, you need to, it's so important, because everyone thinks that signs are just this one thing, or that signs are like crazy and overwhelming. But it's like, are you looking for this sign? Were you asking for a sign that something was going good? And as well, not all signs are good. Like, let's say you get this sign, let's say you get 111, you see 111 a lot, and you're like, oh my god, this is good, it's a new beginning, it's new fresh starts. Well, sometimes 111 can literally mean that there's not going to be anything happening because you need to make forward movement. Not every sign you receive is good. And this is the polarized thinking of the collective consciousness, is they want to think everything's hunky-dory and that every sign is good, when in a matter of fact it's not. There are positive and negative uh things in this world. That's how this RAN is ruled off of. It's a bipolar running off two poles, the north and the south, the positive and the negative. uh you know, that's how this world is ran. And then you have the spectrum of everything in between. That's when you have the electrons, I believe, where everything is just neutral. All these things come into play, and you really have to pay attention to that. um Always, especially when it comes to notifications, paying attention if you get like a random text message or alerted that you have to do something. Always pay attention to those. But your guides will always talk to you in many ways. It's just up to you to really dive deep and remember what's going on around you, or remembering your thoughts, not being so lucid, and being more grounded whenever you thinking with a conscious backing to it, rather than just letting your mind float around all the time, you know. But getting into the flow of life isn't as hard as you think. In fact, it's only hard when you decide to think too much. Go with feeling and allow your guides and the universe to guide you through the events in your life. The end of the day, it's your life, and you came here to live it how you want. The only thing that can let you down is yourself, and only you can let yourself down. And for those that want to say others have let me down in the past, the only truth is you let yourself down because you allowed them into your life and put them up on a pedestal, and you let them, and they let you down because they weren't up to your standards, not to theirs. Simply put, if you were living for another person, uh and not living, if you weren't living for someone else and just living for yourself, they wouldn't have let you down. How can someone let you down if you didn't give them the upper ground to try and pull you up? You know what I mean? Taking accountability in all angles will allow you to free yourself from any constricting boundary due to how many of us are raised, and to how many of us are raised, excuse me. Many of us will think that it's a backwards thinking whenever we were taught backwards growing up. The flow of life is different for everyone, but so you need to find and get in tune with your own vibration within truth and not belief. There's no need to believe in anything. You just need to have a truth. A belief isn't going to help you when it comes down to the fact of it. You need to have a straight fact. You need to have a way of being. And so many people run off belief systems. They're like, oh, I believe this is going to happen. Well, what if it doesn't happen? You just lied to yourself. Now you put up all that energy, and you just, like, now it's gone. Now all the energy has the chance to come back and stab you. The Three of Swords. Now you're hurt. Just know the truth. The truth is, it could happen. It couldn't happen. Don't just say you're going to believe it. Don't blanket term it. Get down to the facts, so that you're not putting yourself in these constricting energies, or in these energies that are so elusive and not constraint, that it causes you to spiral down. But always run with truth to have the smoothest transitions and best results when it comes to your life. Your flow of life is based off of what you truly desire. So pay attention, desire and want, by the way. So pay attention to what makes you feel the lightest for the ease of traversing, and what brings you more authenticity and joy for accuracy in wherever you land on your journey. Candle gazing can help you a lot with this. You can do it at night or while taking a bath for the best results. Record notes with either a pen or paper, or using voice recordings. Pay attention to what you say, how you feel, and what you truly want. Ask yourself how you can achieve these goals uh, you want, and then push forward what feels the best. Pay attention to the signs, the intense flicker of the flame of the candle, the whisper in your ear, the chills you receive when making the notes. Highlight all of these things and remind yourself what you're truly intending. Ask yourself for signs on progress or what to do next, and pay attention as well. When you ask a question, it will always be answered in all ways, and you must be in all. It will always be answered in all ways. Yeah, I said that right. and we must be observant to understand what is being brought to us. So really, when you're trying to get into the flow of life, let's say you're getting into the flow of life because you're looking at all these signs, you're like, okay, I want to use signs to help me move forward. What do I need to do with all these things? Really pay attention to how you're feeling. If you start to get overwhelmed and stressed, it's because you've most likely received a sign already that you're not fully paying attention to, and you need to pay attention to it. Right? When you're looking for signs, a lot of times you'll misinterpret a sign, because then that gives your ego a chance to be like, oh, okay, well, if we're looking for a sign, I'd rather have this than these other things, and that can cause a lot of confusion within the mix. To be very, very aware of what's going on when you are making these changes, when you are going down these paths, when it comes to your life, when it comes to living authentically. Because again, everyone receives signs differently, and some people won't receive all the signs that you're receiving. Sometimes your signs are completely different than other people's signs, which is why a lot of people don't really, catch on to it. These things can't be boxed down into like one category, which is why I talk about them with a few examples. You know, I could sit here all day and try and explain to you all the signs, but it wouldn't end. It all goes down to the energy around you and how it's feeling with you. And again, as well, when it comes down to how you feel, making sure you actually know how you feel rather than XYZ. Because a lot of times, whenever you receive signs, if you're not grounded or you're not in a stable energy, all that's going to do is mess up your energy. Now you have all these conflicting beliefs. Now you have more things to worry about. Now that you've in this energy of like everything's going to work out for me, or everything is going well, and you're not paying attention to the signs around you and it doesn't work out, it can damage you if you're not already within that like strength of being able to move forward. And again, candle gazing helps because it puts your brain in the theta waves the same way whenever you're about to go to bed. And it allows you to really get into the flow of things. Water is just a good sensory deprivation, natural sensory deprivation tool to use. It's very, very important to make sure that you are grounded. As well as having issues with seeing signs. A reoccurring theme with a lot of people who have a hard time seeing signs or really grasping them is they all have an addiction to psychedelics or hallucinogens. They all seem to have like that same addiction to where they're like, oh, I can't even tell what's going on anymore because I just, it's because you're not even thinking anymore. You've allowed a external entity, whatever you're inhaling or digesting in you, to now control you and allow it to make you see what it wants to see rather than what you need to see for yourself. And a lot of people is like, that's the whole thing with like when it comes to drugs and spirituality, you don't need them. Drugs is a 3D thing. And people really have to start getting that grip on real quick, because a lot of people are like wondering, like, even though I wouldn't have been spiritual without it, yeah, but at the same time, what good has it done for you? You could have been spiritual without them, but it's just because you're dependent. It's an addiction. It's something that needs to be talked about, because a lot of people who are on the healing journey aren't even realizing that the things that they're ingesting, the fact that they're ignoring their body not wanting to operate every day off of these external factors that were just added on randomly, the fact that that's like stripping you from really being authentic, um, needs to be talked about. It needs to be healed. Anyway, back to the signs though. With all the signs and stuff, even when you can even get like a coin. You can ask the divine, like, whenever I flip this coin, I need yes or no answers. Be sure to clean the coin too if you do so as well, and keep one side heads, keep the other side tails, and then use like a divination coin for yourself. People do that all the time. Um, reading clouds, looking at cloud, like all these things are signs. And all you have to do is, if you're confused, ask for confirmation, and then make sure that you're telling the divine what you're wanting that confirmation to look like. But when you're in the realm of receiving signs, it's not as stressful as scary as it needs to be, there's usually a lack of attention, a lack of direction, or a lack of control that needs to be stabilized so that you're able to actually know what's going on next. But regardless, this has been the little video about the signs. I hope you all enjoy. Thank you all so much for everything. Thank you for the support on the series. I'm glad that it's helping so many of you. Be sure to share them around as well. Just getting stuff out like this, because this is the new wave, hopefully, to free some more people away from the toxic cycles of being surrounded by negative energy all the time and then wondering why negative things keep happening or why XYZ is still in their energy. Just sharing these around will really help people free themselves from those things. That's what I'm wanting to do. That's the whole mission for why I'm here, and it's important that people aren't stuck in these cycles whenever they're wanting a way out. So thank you all so much for all the support, and thank you for all the shares, and be sure to share this around as well, even if it's just like a post online. Doing that will help out greatly, just like on your Facebook, or even, just get the message out for people, because there's a lot of people that do want help, they just don't know where to get it, and they think they're getting help from the same message every day, but they're really not. But I love you all, to the moon and back, tenfold and forever. All the links are in the description as usual. But I love you all so much, to the moon and back, tenfold and forever, and I'll see y'all later.